lost, there's always a hope. Rise and fight.
Hello and welcome back, y'all, to BSL18. We are finally at the winner bracket semifinals matches. I'm Machine. Joining me today is my good buddy Nyoken. What's up, Dan? How's it going, man?
What's up, Machine? I'm doing well. I'm excited for today's games because we've got the last remaining Terran in the semifinals here. We've got Mihu facing off versus Bonyth. I don't think you could have asked for a better matchup. I think this is what the fans wanted to see. You know, even though I'm a Terran player, even I didn't want to see a TVT in the top side of the bracket. And you know, I was looking at the history between these two players. They played in the winners finals last season. It was 4-3, so this should be a good series.
Yeah. Oh man, 4-3. I remember it being pretty close between these two, and I expected it to be pretty close, but I don't know, man. I'm sure a lot of the foreign Protoss favorites got to be rooting for their boy Bonyth. Mihu looking to close it out. Once again, I would consider him maybe I think he's the favorite. I think that's fair to say. Going into this one, he's been, obviously pulling forward with some strong results as of recently, the last few seasons of BSL. So, he's going to be a big boy to topple here for Bonyth. But if anyone could do it, man, it's Bonyth. Anytime I try to count out Bonyth, man, he proves me wrong. So I'm really excited to see how this one ends up.
Yeah, Bonyth always does really well. Now, those of you out there that have liquid bets going, cover your ears because I'm always wrong here. But I've got Mihu going the distance this season. I think he's just unstoppable. I'm kind of on the fence with his TVP. Here's the thing with Mihu. When he first entered the scene, 4-fact, 5-fact, expand, and I'm watching it, I'm like, dude, what's this? He's not playing fast upgrades. He's not playing the meta. What the heck's going on? But he's killing everyone. Now here's the thing. His style from 2 to 3 years ago, it's meta right now. And so here comes the dilemma for me. Is now we're seeing players like Light, we're seeing players like Royal, Rush, all the top players play the 5-fact expand. And you would think, well, now Mihu can get the replays and he can start playing like Light and Rush, how they do 5-facts. But the thing is literally everybody copies Light and Rush. And that means when Bonyth plays ladder, plays some Terran players, you got to be betting money that he's playing versus 5-fact a lot. So that's why I have a dilemma here. I either think it's really close, or I feel like Mihu has leveled up even higher, and it's something like a 3-0.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. You think like maybe that might pose more of a threat because it's something Bonyth could be like less practiced versus?
Well, I think he's more practiced in general versus the 5-fact, but my issue is it's just now I'm just imagining Mihu's 5-fact ability is probably just increased even higher because instead of him having to come up with his own implementation of 4 or 5-fact, he can just go download replays of Rush and Light. And they perfected it, right? So
of course.
He's going to be able to implement that into his play. So that's why I'm on the fence here, because it's either Mihu's leveled up really high or now Bonyth has massive experience versus this. Because we already saw Gypsy do some timings or do some 5-facts into expansions, right? And Bonyth ended up winning 3-2, so...
I mean, 3-2, very close. Like,
yeah, close.
As expected. Gypsy's obviously very strong Terran as well. But yeah, Mihu's, we see his results of the bracket here so far. Haven't seen that TVP quite yet in the round of 8 bracket stage, but did take out Zhao Shuai with a very convincing 3-0. So yeah, I mean, we all knew Bonyth was going to have his work cut out for him on this one, but no shocker this late into the tournament,
Yeah, either person does not want to go into the loser's bracket, obviously, just because then they're only on one life to be eliminated. But you just gotta match and look at who's waiting for you in the bottom side. Shiki and Xiao Shuai. I mean, this is just insane, right? So
Yeah.
You definitely want to win here, get all the way to the finals. And also, if you win here, right, you're guaranteed top 4. So you don't have to qualify next season. You're just automatically qualified. So a very important matchup for both players here. With this screen, that means our players are ready. By the way, Machine, I got to point this out just before we go. Look at that ZVP win rate. Nightmare.
Nightmare
14.
1 in 6. Oh, jeez, that was rough.
14% win rate. So yeah.
Explains my ladder win rate, you know?
Yeah. So let's get into game 1 between Bonyth and Mihu on Radeon.
Oh, baby. Spawning in the top right as the blue Terran from China, it is Mihu.
And then in the top left, we do have our red Protoss. It is Bonyth.
Close horizontal positions on this map. Like, the rush distances won't be too far, right?
Yeah, it's not too far. I don't actually think Bonyth is going to play aggressive. Last season, we saw players try and play aggressive versus Mihu. I can't even remember a single game that went well for them when they did that. I clearly remember his Marines never dying. And, you know, last week we saw Bonyth try and do some proxy gates, you know, some aggressive play versus Gypsy. But that was in response to Gypsy opening gasless almost every game. And I'm sure Mihu has watched that, and I don't expect to. I literally do not expect to see any gasless games from Mihu here. And not that I've seen his replays, because, you know, you can't get them on Seawall. I think China has their own Chinese ladder, so unless I'm mistaken, that's pretty impossible. But I'm going to bet that Mihu's just going to open 12 gas every game, just make sure he has a solid opener, can't be abused in the beginning, and just try and win with his patented 5-fact, 3-base, 4-base timings.
I mean, this 5-fact timing on a close horizontal spawn like this should be ideal, right? Like, I'm almost expecting Mihu to kind of pressure here early on.
Well, you definitely can pressure with 5-fact, but it's just knowing who the Terran player is. I mean, he does do stuff like that sometimes, but like I was saying, meta these days is you 5-fact but expand. So that's what I'm expecting. I think Radeon's a good map for it also. Easy to get a 3rd base. Maybe with these spawns, it's not exactly the easiest to get a 4th base, because if you try and take top middle, it's towards Protoss. Not exactly ideal if you take bottom right. Kind of far away. So maybe a 3-base timing. I guess it could be a 5-fact, 7-fact. But I don't remember the last time I saw Mihu do a 7-fact on 2 bases. We'll have to wait and see, though. Now, Mihu does do something completely different from other players. He will build a lot of Marines. I think I remember one game last season, he built like 10 Marines. I'm like, dude, why? Why do you have 10 Marines? And he just makes magic happen with them. So FD is also a type of build that I expect to see from him. This time around, though, it's only 3 Marines. This is the very normal, very meta opener. Gonna go for expansion behind it. No bunker, straight vulture.
I see. That should be just enough to kind of push off that early Dragoon, just with the 3 Marines and a Vulture. You know, looks like Mihu going to get that SCV scout in, see the timing of the Nexus here as well. So, well done as expected from him so far. Gets inside to... no, actually he's going to lead. Because he knows the Dragoon must be popping out there. Okay. A little bit of scouting going on from Bonyth here too.
He saw the 2 goons. He saw that there's the Nexus. There's no way you can afford something like DT while also getting a fast Nexus. So nothing really to scout for right now. He's just going to try and save this SCV. Even if he doesn't save this, what he's already done here... Okay, well, I see the minimap, so he's not necessarily going to do what I was thinking, which was skip the bunker. Because when you know that the goon's not going to be comboed with the first goon, well, all of a sudden, you can go straight mines. You can go no bunker. Because what are you afraid of? One goon? I mean, you're not afraid of that. But he does go for the safe play, which is get the bunker anyways. And there's the vulture out on the map, of course. Now, what this is doing is it's trying to get mines out there. It doesn't even really matter where you put the mines, whether to intercept goons, whether it's to intercept like shuttles passing by or trying to deny the third base. Any mines on the map can be impactful. So it's imperative that he at least keeps the Vulture alive so he can get those mines down.
I always like the denial mine on the third base for Protoss. Like, it's just so annoying for Protoss to kind of handle it. Like, taking a base at that point, you just assume you can send a probe somewhere and start a Nexus, and you can't. Oh, man.
Well, we've got to move out from Mihu here, and actually, I talked about this in the last cast with Gypsy. Gypsy's got really good Marine micro, right? And, well, Bonyth's got stellar Goon micro. I think out of all micro situations, this is the situation you want to avoid. But this is hitting so fast. This is a 530. He has 3 goons.
He's done.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the mines are in the back. So now it's actually literally 1 goon. 2 goons, okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. He does get 2 more Dragoons just in time, so he might be able to hold this.
Well, this is already a win for Mihu. He picked off the probe going to build the Nexus at mid-left or either setting up a pylon there for drops. And what this also does, which I don't think a lot of Terrans consider, is, Protoss wants to cut goons in favor of a Nexus or in favor of getting a faster Reaver, and he forced out probably not those 2 additional goons because they were already in production, but may have forced out 2 more goons in his main. He also built a gateway, ended up being canceled, but either way, it stalls the Nexus timing, and there's those 2 goons that I was talking about. So he's got 7 goons. Now, what are the 7 goons going to do? Mihu's going to have siege in a second, so it's not going to really be able to do anything. And these goons are out in the map, so the Vulture just could potentially run by into the natural.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, man, he would have, too, if it was able to pick off that probe. Looks like Bonyth does get a wall up just in time.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you just jump on 2 tanks? No,
you're not doing that. So these goons, I mean, they didn't really accomplish anything. They killed some mines in the center of the map, but he got kind of lucky that the Vultures happened to go to the third base, because like I said, if they went to the natural, we're not just seeing a gateway come up and save these probes. I mean, all these probes are dying. Now, what is nice is Mihu, maybe he overstayed here, because now these 3 Vultures are kind of stuck, and Vultures aren't exactly the highest DPS versus goons, but they soak up a lot of hits. They can do full damage to shields, and now they're going to be gone. And, this is nice.
Yeah, nice little pickup there from Bonyth. If anything, it just kind of helps negate, the delayed Nexus at the third early on. So, nice pickup.
There's the armory. This is typical Mihu. Yeah, I guess it is a little surprising that it's not spinning, but at the same time, it is Mihu. I mean, he knows when he needs the upgrades. We've seen from, You
don't think that's a mistake?
I don't necessarily think it's a mistake, because now it just gets him his faster 4 facts like that. He, of course, will still have a good solid +2 timing. If he ends up going like +1 into quick +2, it'll be around like 14 minutes, which is fine. He could also just be going into slower 1-1. I mean, okay, there's the 5 facts.
I'm just gonna flat out say I think it was a mistake. Just using my StarCraft Terran logic. Yeah, more upgrades, more better. There we go. It's finally spinning. But yeah, I don't know. That was. I can never point out a mistake from Mihu, so you know what? I'm taking that one. That was a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
The machine mistake getting called out right there. There's the 5 fact that we knew was going to be coming. And like I said, this is where Bonyth may be able to have leveled up from Season 17. Literally every Terran on the planet is playing this type of style. So there's going to be massive experience versus this. Now this Reaver, if he drops on top of the 4 tanks, I could see him killing all of them. But he's not going to risk it. He's not going to try and do some insane micro. He's not going to win if there's the goons. There's too many mines. There's too many Vultures to deal with him. I think he can just act like he's going to make something happen, force out a turret, but nothing really should happen. Now look at this. Is this me? Okay, there's the turret. That turret actually built. In my game versus John Hoon, it did not build. So luckily, Mihu's got his turret defense up and running. Oh, that mine. I thought it was going to trigger.
It does get a nice couple Vultures. Forces a repair on that turret. But that should be it.
Oh,
no!
that is a massive loss for Bonyth. Not only does he lose the Reaver, but he also showed that he built speed for that, and he has basically a 0 health shuttle right now. So you can see in his main, immediately lost that and immediately goes into more gates. Now he's going into Arbiter, and you know, as 5-fact meta was coming into play, you knew that this was going to be a resurgence of Arbiter, because Arbiter is really good versus timings. It's really hard to strike before the Arbiter comes out, and when it does come out, well, you better have a lot of energy stored up on your comsats. Otherwise, the invisible army, not the invisible man, is just going to kill you.
Here we go, big engagement. Bond taking a couple shots from those Dragoons. One Dragoon does fall, but just doing his best to kind of delay this timing here from Mihu.
Well, you know,
I don't know. This is just such a tough timing, man. Like,
yeah, even though I don't really think timings are the greatest on this map, I think it's going to work, because this build from Bonyth, Reaver's very expensive. He also got speed, and then he went Arbiter. Oh man, and that's a massive goon hit. Now what Bonyth needs to do here is cut off reinforcements. I think if he can like stall this attack, maybe like a minute and a half while cutting off reinforcements, he can kill the army. But if he can't cut off reinforcements and he can't stall, I don't see how you kill this. And unfortunately, Mihu's one of the fastest pushers in the BSL scene, and here he is already on the Nexus, and that Stargate just started blinking. So this Arbiter is not here anytime soon. Reaver unloads, but okay, that was a massive shot. The thing is that there's just no army. Like, he gets 3 tanks, but there's still so many tanks left over.
yeah, it looks like he's just gonna have to abandon the natural here, or take the lost base. Ah, man. But as you said, Mihu's just pushing so quickly. Another turret already up at the natural. Tanks slowly inching forward. He's catching his lost rally as well, so not taking any unfortunate losses on the back end. Mihu's just very buttoned up.
And by the way, if we're just strictly looking at Mihu's money right now, he could have gone 7-fact. He could have expanded. It's not like he's floating a lot here, but he is floating. So Bonyth is having a hard time versus a 5-fact, and this isn't even all the stuff he could have had. Just as an aside here, because this game may be over pretty soon. Reinforcements have not synced up. So look at this. Yeah, it's over. GG. And this was without reinforcements. And this is kind of what I was saying about my dilemma in predicting who's going to win here. Is Mihu's clearly leveled up his 5-fact, and you can see Bonyth has the right response, because Arbor, really good. But the thing is, I don't think you can open Reaver first and go Arbiter, because you can see what happened. You're low on units, your Arbiter's late. Gateways, I think they were decent. They were decently timed, but I don't know. To be fair to Bonyth, though, he did lose his first Reaver, right? And Reaver does a good job of stalling. So maybe if you don't lose the first Reaver, maybe it doesn't look like that.
Other than the Reaver, are there any other adjustments that you think he's going to need to make? Well, I guess you said no Arbiter. At least in that instance.
Yeah, I think Reaver into Arbor is just too slow, especially with speed on your Robo. Like, that's 200, man. I mean, that's a crazy expensive.
Yeah, it's just tough, man. Whenever you're playing against a player that level.
Yeah, and there's a reason that Mihu's win rate versus Protoss is 90%. I mean, you saw it. I mean, was he ever down in supply? I mean, of course, technically he was down in supply at certain points in the game. But when I look at the supply and it says 124 to 120, and Terran's the one at 124, you know Protoss is in trouble. So,
for sure.
Bonyth needs to get his macro going, because Mihu clearly hasn't missed a beat. And by the way, Machine, that +1 weapon that you were saying was a mistake. I think it lined up pretty perfectly with that 5-fact. What do you think?
Did he have it? I couldn't even tell if he had it at the end there. I thought he pushed too fast. Honestly.
Well, the +1 upgrade is pretty fast. Work. It's like 245. When did he start? Maybe like 8:15 or something. So that
yeah, I guess it was in time.
fast, but once he got to the Nexus at the natural, it kicked in. So literally it kicked in right when he needed it, which was when the battle started happening.
Yeah, the big one at the natural. Huh, okay. Well, looks like he timed it right.
Well, game 2 is going to be on Apocalypse. I think this is a Bonyth map. I think that this has a lot of high ground, has a lot of walls. It can be hard to deal with carriers. But
I was
that's
gonna
if you
say
get there.
this is a carrier map. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you could get to it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, every map is a carrier map, really. Even maps that I didn't think were carrier maps end up being carrier maps just because of how ridiculous they are. But the thing is when you're playing someone who does timings like Mihu, or at least shows you like, hey, you've got to respect the potential timing, it makes it so hard to go carriers, which is why we saw in the Gypsy series, we did see carriers, but they were late carriers. They were like 15, 16-minute carriers because if Gypsy had 7-facted or 5-facted, Bonyth would have just got blown out of the water. So if he can get to mid game here, or maybe early late game, this is the map for Bonyth, because this is a really, really tough carrier map.
Yeah, we do know Bonyth loves to go carriers. Definitely kind of different from most of the other top 4 in Protosses in that regard. I think the rate at which I see Bonyth utilize carriers in this matchup just seems much higher than anyone else I can think of. But yeah, looks like, of course, map 2 going to be Apocalypse here. And with this screen, both our players are ready to go. So let's jump into game 2, Mihu versus Bonyth on Apocalypse.
Okay, in the top middle are red Protoss. We do have Bonyth.
And in the bottom left, as the blue Terran once again, we have Mihu.
Yeah, so as people in the chat have pointed out, Apocalypse is a map where you can have a favorable engagement on the high ground. Totally agree with that, especially since Mihu does like timings that are not like 4GG timings. 4GG does like 4-fact, 5-fact timings, but he like cuts insanely for them, so they hit really fast. So what I mean by that is Mihu's more economic with his timings, which means Reavers will definitely be out, potentially sitting on his high ground outside of the natural of his base. So because of it being so hard to get up your own ramp, I think this time if we see a 5-fact, it's going to be designed to take his third base safely, and then from there we start playing into 7-8-fact timing, 2-2 timings, maybe a really solid 1-1 timing. But if he does another 5-fact timing on this, with when it's like 10-11 minute timing, I don't know if this is going to go very well for him.
So Apocalypse isn't like a symmetrical map, right? Like it's cut basically into 3 different sections. How does that kind of play for late game TVP here?
Well, in one sense, it's nice because you don't have to worry about Protoss having 3/4 of the map, like on Citadel or something like that. So you don't feel the pressure like, oh my god, this guy's got 9 bases. Like, that's just not gonna happen. But at the same time, you could be feeling the pressure, like once Mihu gets his 4 bases, it's gonna be hard for him to get a 5th, hard for him to get like the other main. And also, if we get to that point in the game, it's gonna be carrier man. So, I don't know. It will be rough at that point, but I don't know. Terran's just so solid on 4 bases. I feel like you're still going to be okay. By the way,
that's fine. It's kind of like... Oh, sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, by the way, this was a 12 gas. I only mentioned that because 11 gas is very meta, and players have been rushing Vulture, but again, another eco opener from Mihu here. It's got an Artosis level 12 gas timing, though. 240 factory. Look at that.
Yeah, not bad. Especially even with the probe delay like that. That was very well done. Looks like Bonyth has range likely spinning in his main here. Will be scouted last from Mihu, so that's kind of a nice little bonus.
Yeah, that was a good denial of the factory from Bonyth. 240 factory, it's really late for a 12 gas. You know, maybe 230 is kind of standard. If you're like really nailing it, 228 is about as fast as you can get it. So 10 to 12 second delay. I mean, that's massive. That is huge. So we'll see if Bonyth wants to do anything with this, you know, delay of it being so long. But doesn't really look like he's doing anything. But immediate bunker from Mihu. This is interesting. I guess he's feeling like his factory got delayed so long that the Vulture can't support it in time by the time the Goon gets across, and that's actually a smart read for him because he's right. I don't think the Vulture's out just yet, and Probe Goon combo would have dealt a lot of damage.
Fortunately, it does make that read, gets that bunker up in time, and with this he'll be able to hold his natural, but this is a much different game state, right, than we saw the previous game. A player the level of Bonyth, you know, if they get these little advantages, they'll be able to at least to exploit them to some degree, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And now this Vulture is kind of useless because of it being so late. It can't even get out on the map, and Vulture, you know, it can tank some shots, but it will get 6-shotted by a Goon. And if Bonyth, you know, shoots it once, then gets another moving. Oh, he tried to sneak by. But what I'm saying is if he micros well, I think the Vulture will just get popped by these Goons. So you can see that he tried to do it. Yeah, he's just going to jump on it. Okay,
Smart.
well, I mean, it's not even a big loss because, wow, he lost some shields. Who cares? It's not like Terran's going to kill these Goons.
Yep, now the Vulture's really got to be wary. He's going to send another SCV just to repair that, so, you know, these are the little advantages I was talking about. Bonyth, you know, maybe he can't, obviously, like, end the game here. It's still a bunker filled with Marines, but, I mean, he's just really doing his best to make Mihu pay for his mistake.
Now the tank is out, and most likely these Goons will just back off, or, you know, at least maybe sit on high ground. But not going to be able to do much else with them. You know, funny enough, you know, sometimes I would be skeptical of Goons being out on the map like this, because if we look at Mihu's main Bonyth's mains right now, not a lot of drop defense, but I'm trying to think, have I ever seen Mihu go drops? I don't really think so. But as I say that, there's a building at the top left corner of his base, which is definitely a starport. So this time around, it's actually going to be a really good follow-up. And actually, Bonyth, you know, he's channeling his energy 5 here. Like, he's got his Goons out in an arc saying, like, you're not going to get out of your base. But the problem for him is his main is completely... I mean, there is literally nothing here. Zero.
Yeah. I mean, these Vultures are going to get an amazing trade. Oh, man, can't believe it. A mine even gets a nice connect.
Yeah, I can't actually believe that he jumped on that. I mean, you saw him go mine. I think he saw him put the mines down. And, like, you know, this is a common thing for Terrans.
And he was going observer, right? So there's almost no reason to just not wait for it. Ah,
no way, no way. Did he miss it?
He sees it. He saw it.
Well, I think he sees it.
Oh.
Okay, he's moved. No, he's not. He must have just barely missed it. This is going to get so many kills, man. But at the same time, he is pushing the natural. However, Siege should be kicking in pretty soon unless Mihu went speed. If Mihu went speed, there's not going to be Siege for a long time. But he didn't go speed. And look at this. Bonyth in his main, he's already going carriers. Machine.
And it gets scouted. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say this game is over, but it's pretty bad. He lost a lot of probes right there. He didn't necessarily see the Stargate, but he saw the cybernetic spinning. He saw that this guy only has 2 gates. And now, one of the most common follow-ups to Factory Starport is just build 5 facts.
Yeah. He's just going to build 5 factories. I mean, still has that dropship available too, so Bonyth is going to have to be split from here on out and keep some forces at home just to defend Vulture drops. So, yeah, this is not looking too good for Bonyth here. I mean, that was so many probes in the main.
Yeah,
he got so many probes.
It all comes down to how fast he builds these factories. Like, if he starts cutting right now and starts building factories, I think Bonyth is dead. If Mihu does his typical thing, which is he builds a lot of SCVs while also building kind of delayed-ish factories, then I could see a world where the carrier count gets high enough and he can stop it. And I actually think those factories are fast enough that now Bonyth is in trouble, and you can see already supplies are in favor of Mihu, 70 to 69, with 5 facts almost done. And what he's doing right now is he's just sending out a couple vultures at a time, one to make this guy build more goons, and you know, if you're building more goons, that means potentially you're not building a carrier, so that makes it even harder for Bonyth to balance. And at the same time, also Mihu's, look at this defense. I mean, he's got mines in the main, so even if this guy was going Reaver, even without Goliath, he's not going to take any damage. So this is literally just perfect from Mihu.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, look at the spread on the mines. Like, all the vision he's getting, he knows Bonyth doesn't have a third base. He could see the Dragoon movement moving back. I mean, and he's forcing Dragoons to be left inside the main here to defend against drop. So, yeah.
So Bonyth is doing something interesting here, which is obviously Mihu knows it's character because he saw the Cybernetic spinning, so he knows it's coming. So at some point he's going to start ramping up his Goliath production. But we can see in Bonyth's main, he actually has a lot of gateways. So he could be baiting Mihu, you know, making him think like, uh-oh, I got to build a lot of Goliaths, but actually there's just going to be maybe potentially 2 carriers and then mass ground, and Goliaths are kind of garbage versus ground. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, they're just bad. So as long as he can get feed with a decent gateway count and maybe just like 2 to 3 carriers, I could see a world where there's too many Goliaths on the ground, not enough actual ground DPS, and maybe that's how Bonyth wins a fight.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if pushing from, you know, low ground to high ground or something like that, Bonyth picks good fight. Oh man, another big vulture drop inside the main here. We knew it was going to get used at some point. Uses the drop ship to confirm the carrier count.
I think there's one.
Very well done here.
I think there was one more vulture in that dropship because only 3 unloaded, but it got picked off by those goons at the natural. But either way, I mean, this is catastrophic damage. That's 10 probes mining the main minerals, 3 on gas, so literally 13 probes in total in his main. Let's be generous and say there's 25 probes at his natural. So trying to go into, oh, I thought he had built a 3rd Nexus, but he didn't. So this is like 35 to 40 probes. I guess it's okay on 2 bases, but it's going to be hard to support double Stargate, 6 gate. But the carrier count is decently high. It was not 2 carriers into mass gateway man. It is going to be a big committal here. He's going into at least 4 carriers.
It doesn't look like Mihu's force is the biggest yet either, right? I think Goliath counts something like 8. Tank count was something like, it looked like maybe 6 or 7. So I don't know. I don't think he can quite push yet, but he's obviously his economy hasn't been touched, and he doesn't really need to push, right?
I guess he doesn't need to push because he's dealt so much damage, but, you know, after doing so much damage with the drops, I really did think he was going to all-in this. Instead, he does go for the 3rd command center, which is what I was expecting before we saw build orders unfold. But I don't know if you really want to play mid and late game when Protoss already has 4 carriers. Also, you know, this is Apocalypse. You're attacking into high ground. You're going to have to deal with ledges. And if you're just sitting here, now, what could have been only 2 to 4 carriers to deal with, there could be a real potential where Protoss has 8 carriers. You didn't rush, you didn't rush your science facility, so you're not going to have +2 weapon. I don't know. I think Bonyth still has a chance here because Mihu's just not necessarily camping, but he's just sitting here taking bases himself.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of interesting because I don't know. I can't see a world where if Mihu's eco is just that much stronger, maybe he feels like he's just giving himself a better timing by maybe delaying it a bit, waiting for an upgrade, getting 10 more Goliaths or something. But who knows?
There's 6 turrets right here. So many turrets actually, and I think people underrate turrets versus carriers. Like, in theory they don't do much damage, but when you're able to build like 10 of them all in a block like he's able to do right there, they're actually pretty good. And we do have double armory. We've got the dropship being loaded up, and by the way, the fact that forge is not done means that there's no +1 weapon on the ground. And it's pretty important to at least be even in upgrades, you know, weapon versus armor compared to Terran. So,
oh, he's going to use this drop to move his main force. Oh, that's cool.
There's 2 more vultures in that dropship, by the way. Like, that's not the entire drop. So he's going to shut down 2 bases at the same time.
With a dropship and 4 vultures. That's crazy.
I mean, this is just so much damage, man. But like I was saying, it's a lot of damage, but you're still letting Protoss get to mass carriers. Yeah, I mean, there's another drop in the main, and he's got. It's crazy, right? But Protoss' army is still really strong. Like, there's still 6 carriers out on the map.
Yeah, Terran up 40 supply at this point. There's got to be so many Goliaths. Yeah, this is really unfortunate.
I think those vultures are still at the 3rd base. Is that correct? I see a blue dot over there.
I think they're mines. I think he planted mines.
Okay, this is a massive army. And you would imagine Terran should be able to win this fight, but I've seen crazier things with carriers. It is still uphill. It is still 6 carriers.
Ooh, 1 tank gone, 2 tanks gone, just like that. Bonyth's still in the fight, man.
I think he can still win. I think he can still win this. Like, I genuinely still think he can win the fight, but he doesn't have any more carriers being produced. +1 weapon is not necessarily the greatest versus carriers, but when they're 1-1 and you don't really have to worry about ground, they're still pretty freaking good. There's the double upgrades that I was talking about. Right now, I mean, this is why Terran players want to end the game versus carriers, because you can see, I mean, he's just picking off, what was that, 4 Goliaths instantly?
Yeah, just like that, for nothing.
And what was a 40 supply lead, it's now only 30. It's still an uphill fight, technically, into that high ground. Yeah, 20. I mean, it's crazy, right? At the same time, it's not like Mihu's all in. He's, in fact, taking the 3rd base himself, so he's going to have big econ. Look at this.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing that's going really well is, like, his eco has not been touched. And yeah, he is backing up a little bit. I mean, I guess he's just kind of recognizing what you're saying. Like, those trades are not going well. Another drop in the main. And this is really where all the damage has been done for Mihu this game, man. These drops have just been chaos.
Yeah, this is crazy amounts of damage. And by the way, those zealots, they don't even have speed. I don't know if he has... I actually don't think he has a Citadel, because I keep looking at his main. It's definitely not... Oh my gosh, he didn't transfer the probes! Oh, 5!
Oh, man.
I could see, like... Oh, my... No. Oh,
11.
15. Yeah, 13.
Oof. Killing a cannon, too, with that. And actually picks it up, manages to pick it up in time. Oh, nope. Never mind. But still, huge damage once again being done. Forcing these carriers to move all the way back for just a dropship and a tank.
Yeah, these drops have... Okay, this is going to be... This is most likely the final battle. If there were speed on the Zealots, maybe they had a chance, but there's no speed, which means they just don't get on top of anything. Goliaths are trying to hold the line. One of the carriers already dies. But you can see the power of this high ground. I mean, technically, Protoss won this fight while they were down, what, 30 supply with no econ? Like, this is what I was talking about. This is why it's so hard to attack on Apocalypse. If Mihu doesn't have this massive eco lead, look at this. He's actually retreating. Imagine doing that much damage to the probe line and you're the one retreating.
Having to retreat? Yeah, that is nuts. That is so crazy to me. But I mean, there's still not much mining in the main or the natural here for Bonyth. There's basically no reinforcements, so what Bonyth has, he's got to go with now.
Yeah, exactly. He has to go. He can't sit. It's 4 base Terran, soon to be 5 base, and all the bases have gas. And at this point, because there's no zealots, Goliaths are okay. Like, they're much tankier than Vulture, so they can soak up more hits from the goons. DPS, kind of doesn't matter because Vultures don't really do damage to goons very well anyways. So I think at this point, now that he's up 60 supply, almost 70 versus no eco Protoss, this has got to be the game-winning attack. He's picking off observers also, so Bonyth doesn't know where the army is, or could potentially not know where it is.
He can pretty much just rally his factories on the high ground, and, I mean, just keep sending at this point.
Yep. And those goons, I think, were softened up, so we could see some big tank shots. The interceptors are running out, and we're about to see a 2-0 here. There's no way that Bonyth can win this fight. Just doesn't have anything to fall back on. There it is. GG comes out. And that was the perfect strategy from Mihu. Like I was saying, I genuinely think that that was the first time I've ever seen him use drops. And it's actually one of the few times I've seen Bonyth pull a G5 and just sit outside the natural and say, like, dude, you're not getting any vultures out. Well, you can see the reason why players don't do that. Because those vultures literally killed like 15 probes on the first drop. Like,
yeah, just the first drop.
That's insane damage.
Yeah, it really was, man. Like you said, it was kind of nice seeing Mihu open a different style. You know, we've been seeing a lot of the 4 and 5 fact from him for a while now, so yeah, just kind of throwing out, hey, can't forget, I've got other builds too, you know, which is kind of cool. So ended up being a really nice game from him. And with that, Bonyth is backed up against the ropes here, man. He's got to get a W on this next one.
Yeah, and Citadel, I have mixed thoughts on this map. In one sense, this is a map where you get 4 bases basically for free of Terran. Mineral only, easy to take. Third base, easy to take. But it's also similar to Apocalypse in the sense, you know, you're not necessarily attacking uphill, but there are moments where you are attacking uphill. Then you have so many ledges, which means it's a carrier guy's dream, right? So if we get into another situation like we had in Apocalypse where he's going straight Stargate, if he doesn't get critical damage onto the eco, I could see Bonyth winning in the mid and late game with fast carrier play. Also, one thing to point out about Citadel compared to Apocalypse, Citadel's another map that has a huge main, so we could see back-to-back dropship play, especially after how well the drops went. If I'm Mihu there and I get Citadel as my next map, I'm thinking like, dude, I'm going drops again because I dropped you like 4 times and you didn't deal with it in any of those situations, any of those times that I dropped. You didn't deal with it at all. So I think we could see back-to-back starboard openers.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, it's at least a threat. You know now it's going to be in the back of Bonyth's mind one way or another. The drops are a possibility. But yeah, I don't know, man. Kind of interested to see how this one goes. It's funny you mentioned the ledges, great for carriers, but also good for tanks mid-game TVP, right? Like,
yeah.
So a lot of the, you know, the 5-fact stuff even becomes stronger, I would think. Or, you know, like a 2-base 5-fact timing would be even stronger on this map for the same reason. So, yeah. But with this, both our players are ready to go, folks. So let's get into game number 3 here. Mihu versus Bonyth on Citadel. And spawning top left as the blue Protoss, it's Bonyth.
Yep, and in the bottom left, we do have our red Terran 1 game away. It is Mihu. And like you were saying, ledges or the walls can be used in your favor, and this is one of those positions where you can use it in your favor as Terran. Pushing towards the left side, you can situate tanks behind as you get into the, you know, narrow hallway towards the natural. Mihu didn't get the greatest spawns for drops here, you know, doesn't have the greatest angle, so maybe because he spawned at bottom left, won't open for drops, but in general, I've had really good success myself doing drops on here. I mean, it's just so huge. There's no way Protoss can really cover every single part of the base easily.
So you're saying, like, let's say if Bonyth was bottom right in these positions, they would be a good position for Mihu to drop because the main's more exposed? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just directly flying over it. Also, he can go through his natural, which means he'd also avoid the observer most likely. So, yeah, that would have been the ideal spawn. Now, as expected, this is going to be another 12 gas from Mihu. I mean, technically we haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be another 12 gas in. Once again, it's not going to be any early pressure from Bonyth. It is just going to be straight into gas from him.
Yeah, he's just very consistent with this build order. I almost wouldn't have minded seeing 12 Nexus or something thrown in, but I mean, I know a lot of Protoss don't do that because they say, you know, like, just a single, like, factory timing with Marines can be pretty difficult to hold.
Yeah, and we saw Mihu do like a single factory timing on Radion and just back off. He didn't get much damage done, but he forced out additional units. He intercepted the probe, delayed the third base. So definitely a dangerous build, and once again, Mihu's going to get lucky here. Find Bonyth first. Now remember, this was a remember the factory timing 240 machine last game?
Yep.
What's the timing this time?
229, 229, 230?
229, 230. Like that's a considerable difference. 11 seconds. That's a big time difference, and that means that now he's not going to have to build that bunker as fast. He's going to get down his command center a little bit faster. You know, all these minor things do add up as you get better and better and move up on the ladder.
Probably no bunker now, right?
Oh yeah, there's no bunker. This is going to be 3 Marines, Vulture, expand, and then evaluate whether he needs a bunker or not. And he's going to definitely delay it as long as possible. Now that probe did get a couple of shots out onto a Marine. A single goon can win the fight now, 1v3. But I don't know if he's going to take that.
It's a risk.
Yeah, if you risk losing your goon, all of a sudden you've got to build at least an additional goon, because now you're susceptible to timing. Yes, you kill all the Marines, but Mihu's someone that will just rebuild them and go for a follow-up timing. So I think it's quite risky, which is why you see Bonyth just back off and will instead focus on getting rid of this SCV.
Does see the Nexus timing, so he knows Bonyth's not really up to anything unusual here, which is good. At the same time, looks like... Oh, I was going to say, what is that? No, and he's going to scout it?
No way. No way. I guess... Okay. I don't
this
even
is a
think...
robo?
I don't think it was a robo. See, the thing is it's kind of weird. I don't know what it was exactly supposed to be. Because I think the robo's not... Okay, it looked like it was going to be a robo, but what does the robo get you by being that close? Like, does it get you a fast... Go ahead.
I was going to say, this sounds probably really dumb, but like Reaver, right? Like you see that PvP a lot, and maybe if he thinks, oh, he's going to go mines and not siege, maybe the Reaver has like a range advantage? I have no idea, dude. But that's the best my little Zerg mind could come up with.
Yeah, I could see that. It's just I've never seen that versus a 12 cast. Now, by the way, the Vulture gets in and gets three kills, by the way, and gets full intel, so he knows it's a robo follow-up. So that was huge damage. And look at that. That was enough damage to trigger I'm doing a timing, or at least I'm killing off this pylon.
Yeah, free pylon. Why not?
Yeah, he could have. I mean, he technically could have killed this while that was happening. So now, one thing, just to kind of note, is if you're playing in a more aggressive Protoss, like let's say this is Gosudark would have known, like, well, this guy sacked his Vulture, so he doesn't have mines out on the map, and now this guy's trying to kill my pylon. He clearly can't have mines, so I'm just going to go kill the army. But Bonyth was a little bit slow on the gun to get across the map, so doesn't get that. But he is at least in a position to snipe these. Look at that. Goodbye, tank. That was really good. And if you can get that tank, this pushes over. Oh, see ya.
Ooh. Yeah, not bad.
That was amazing.
I mean, from a deficit, too, after losing the pylon. That's crazy. Okay. Bonyth doing Bonyth things.
He needed that. He took a lot of damage then to the Vulture, then also lost his pylon. And now he picks off 2 tanks with 3 goons, only loses one of them.
Is that going to trigger, like, timing, maybe? Like, will he go Reaver, or
no,
do you just take a third base?
I think it's either going to be a third base or it's going to trigger him to build faster Stargate. But this is just Mihu things, right? Like, he lost his tanks. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, dude, you don't have a timing with your tank anymore because you just lost 2 of them, and he's sitting here building more Marines, making it look like he's going to still commit to a timing.
Oh. Ooh. Oh, man, almost picks off a Dragoon there. So these Dragoons are definitely weak now. Like, this is the end of Bonyth's pressure, I'm pretty sure. He does have a third Nexus on the way, taking that mineral only. We haven't really seen where Bonyth's choosing to end up next. No support bay yet. There we go. Support bay is up.
Dude, he's moving out. Like, these are the types of things that I just don't understand that Mihu does. But he always makes it work. But that time it didn't work. That's another tank that's died.
Whoa.
And that one, it should die.
Just missed a bunch.
Just missed a bunch?
Yeah, he missed some of those shots on the high ground. Does get another tank, though, so not
Who
bad.
missed a bunch? Mihu?
The Dragoons actually missed the tank on the low ground.
Okay.
I couldn't believe that. Yeah, it was
Okay,
weird.
well, there's Vulture the main, and
Oh,
this
no.
is not good. Oh, no. Okay, I thought both of those mines were going to explode. Now, he didn't actually lose that much. He lost 2 probes.
I think he has.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I don't know. This looks like not that many probes, actually.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to his probe count, because like you said, there's not that many at the natural, and there's not that many in the main, and he hasn't transferred to his third base, and somehow, I realize he lost a lot of goons in that engagement, but he did kill 3 tanks or 4 tanks, and he did kill a lot of Marines, yet he's still down 8 supply. So Mihu somehow has really whittled down the econ. I don't know how exactly he did that, because it didn't look like the first, yes, the first Vulture did good damage, but the second, I didn't really notice that much.
Yeah, I didn't notice that much either. Either way, probe count's clearly been hindered. I mean, at the same time, though, he's killed all of Mihu's tanks, in multiple times now. Mihu definitely has to be struggling in the tank department.
Yeah, you would think so. He ends up saving that Vulture. One gets into the main again. The Vultures did spot the shuttle coming, so he knows a Reaver is on the way, but, will he react to it? Because it's hard to Vulture harass and react at the same time, and it looks like he didn't react, because I didn't see any movement into his main. Turret's set up, but there are no units. 0. There's not armory isn't even done. There's no mine set up either. So Bonyth, this is the dream scenario for him. There's literally 1 tank and 1 Vulture. Kill everything.
Yeah, this is going to be a great opportunity here for him. Picking off the SCV, making that turret. There's nothing that can shoot this shuttle out of the sky at the moment. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a dead tank. Oh, that is... You walled him in, man. Why?
So yeah, definitely, finally, Bonyth able to do some harass. Wow, picked it up there at the end as well. Now it's like 1 HP. He's probably going to end up retreating with that. But it does allow him to stabilize here for a second.
That's really, really big damage. But while all this is happening, it looks like he did some disruption to the minerals, just because I see there's still not that many probes at the third base. Supplies are still really close, 80 to 74. I noticed that Mihu's command centers are like non-stop still blinking, so even though he lost a lot of SCVs, he's rebuilt them, and he has his 5-fact completed. Like, it's not in the process of being done. It's done, so he's going to be able to ramp up his supply really fast. Now, one thing is he didn't deal with that Reaver, so he's probably going to be facing 2 Reavers now. And that's going to be hard to push into, because it does look like he's setting up for another timing.
Don't you kind of just need a couple Goliaths to handle that?
You need more than a couple Goliaths.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they have speed. And if you build a Goliath, you're not building Vultures for the mines, or you're not building tanks. And then you also need to get range, and range is like almost 2 minutes of an upgrade. So it's not so simple as to just build 2 Goliaths and we're going, but we'll see if he wants to. These Vultures still running.
Did build 2 Goliaths.
Yeah, Vultures get in here again, and by the way, there is a mine set up here, so it could do a lot of damage. He lays another mine. Oh my gosh, he kills and he gets out! He gets out!
I can't believe it. He's continuing to do more damage. These Vultures have just been menaces. Yeah, it's insane.
Ridiculous damage, man. Absolutely crazy amounts of damage that Mihu is getting here. Channeling his inner fantasy for sure. And despite Bonyth, having insane... Oh my gosh. Well, that's one way to get rid of the Reavers, is the shuttle flew forward. Now the Reaver gets off 1 big hit, but it didn't get off a second. Now all that's left are goons, which are really weak by themselves.
Yeah, that was just such an opportune timing there. Catching Bonyth, with his shuttle a little too far forward. Without the Reavers and a shuttle, this is going to be a very difficult push to stop.
But this third base, I don't think it can be saved. This game, Bonyth does have his Citadel, so he will have speed at some point, but it's definitely not completed just yet. And Zealots, okay, their speed just now kicks in. The Reaver gets off, oh, actually might get off multiple shots because he didn't focus down the Reaver. He gets off 2 shots. He gets off 3 shots.
3 shots.
That's really good, and he's actually going to hold it. I didn't think he was going to hold this.
I didn't think he was either, man.
Donation from
And
Chelsea.
yeah, it looks like Mihu gonna have to retreat with the last 3 tanks, so game's gonna go on here.
Well, despite losing his army, you know, both players losing their army, Mihu's like expanding behind this. And so he's not all in once again. He's going to be 3 base versus 3 base. Supplies are really close, 97 to 87. Mihu has all of his factories like done, right? So 5 that's good versus 6 gate production only from Protoss, but Protoss had to win that fight. If he doesn't win that fight, I think the game's completely over. Now he's staved off the attack. Just needs to get more gateways down. And I don't think you can go Arbiter here. I don't think you can go Carriers. I think this guy is pushing too often. I think you just got to go Storm.
What about a 4th base? Like taking 12 o'clock here, top right?
Yeah, that's fine. But those are Stargates, man. Stargate and Arbiter or Temple Archive.
And it got scouted by the mine.
Of course it did. Why would it not get scouted?
Oh, man. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, looks like he is going to try to take a 4th base, but I think there might be a mine. Or, oh, wow, there's even a Vulture at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, so
yeah.
He does need to get that 4th base, because 3 base Terran versus 3 base Protoss. I mean, as long as Terran knows what they're doing, they're just going to win. Like, it's just that simple. So, definitely needs to get the 4th base. Goliath intercepts this shuttle, already does like 80 points of damage. And Terran's up in supply. Despite that Reaver drop, you know, looking like it could do game-winning damage, he's now caught up. He's up in supply, and like I was saying, drops are very strong on this map, and he's going to go for a delayed drop, and I guess he will see it because there's an Overlord and a probe over here, or not an Overlord, an Observer and a probe. Maybe, I hope he sees it. Don't tell me he doesn't have vision here.
Oh, it's gonna be close.
I think he saw
I think he does. Yeah,
Oh,
I
he
think
didn't?
barely does.
He didn't.
Ah.
He didn't react. No way.
Oh, man. Does drop 2 Vultures there at the natural. Probably gonna put 2 more inside the main.
There's a mine. Oh my gosh. No. Do not. No. Oh my. He's dropping
didn't
in
kill
the
any
main
probes?
He's dropping in the main at the same time. Oh, he knows. Okay, he saw it get laid.
Okay, it doesn't look like much happened inside the main. So, I can... Finally, it's a failed drop, you know, from Mihu. Only took 8 tries, but... Well, I say that. Look at those 2 mines. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Zealot, I can already see it now. Like, he A moves towards the center of the map, and it goes towards the gas for some reason. And, okay, it went through the top side either way. But actually, this Arbiter timing may not actually be bad, because I thought Mihu was going to attack faster, but instead he's, just like he did on Apocalypse, he's going to sit here and get more eco, kind of bide his time, wait for 200 maxed. And that means that Arbiter will be out. Now, there is a Vessel already out, so it will have EMP, but hard to land EMP in comparison to Stasis.
Yeah, it definitely is. At the same time, though, this is giving Bonyth time to take and hold 12 o'clock, right? And because, you know, Mihu's only on 2 gas with the mineral only, Bonyth will get, you know, that 3rd additional gas. He might be able to utilize that, you know, a little more and trade more efficiently.
Right, well, it all comes down to this. It's max versus max, you know, in like one more cycle of units. Tank count, decent. Like, it's not overwhelming. What is it, 10?
Yeah,
I mean,
10-ish.
I mean, this is pretty much all you can really ask for, right, from Terran, is to have only 10. So it's not that high. I think actually Mihu may have goofed here. His Vultures were way too far forward. The Reaver is still alive, doing a lot of damage. Good D-Matrix. But the tanks, they were so low number, and the Vultures...
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that strike right there knocks down so many tanks, so many Vultures. It's going to be a trade of supply, but that was great for Bonyth. He just needed to trade supply there because he resets the tank count once again. Now he has 4 bases running, and he's got good tech, so now he can start going for his delayed carriers if he wants to.
Yeah, that was a really great timing there for Bonyth. Honestly, he moved the vessel and didn't scan and didn't have much vision at the top of that fight. Took some unnecessary damage for a second. So, yeah, that was crazy. Well, Mihu still being annoying with this dropship, picking off a couple more probes.
Yep.
Oh man, it gets another one too. Oh, well, how funny is that? The Arbiter's gonna come in and kill it.
Yeah, nicely done. Ends up getting some damage though, but that's going to take a long time for Mihu to rebuild his tank count, because I think he was only on 2... Okay, he's on 3 add-on. So he's got really good production with the 9 factories, but 3 add-ons, let's say you want to get to 12 tanks, that means it's going to take at least 2 minutes. That means that there's going to be double stasis available on that single Arbiter. Recall is going to be available. I'm actually surprised that more Stargates didn't come down. So it looks like Bonyth is going to still just be reliant on Arbiter as the play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just doesn't feel like he's got the eco with only 3 gas and that mineral only. I mean, if you could see, like, main base is already mined out. He's probably got to start taking top right before he feels comfortable transitioning to carriers or something.
I think that Bonyth, I don't know, 4 base versus 4 base is never good for Protoss, but
right. Yeah.
I feel like Bonyth is in like a good situation in the sense that the tank count has been reset for so long and he has so much energy on his Arbiters, but he doesn't really have massive eco, and he's not able to get a 5th base. Okay, he's gonna go for an attack.
Yeah, he's going for it. Oh,
there's
no stasis.
Yeah, no stasis. Oh my, no, he hit the
Jesus.
EMP and it hit the army also. That means that you definitely cannot attack now. You know, it's one thing to EMP the Arbiter. It's another thing to hit the army and EMP the Arbiter. So now this army is like half health plus no stasis, and trying to micro a Reaver 20 minutes into the game is near impossible.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I can't even micro the first Reaver, so by this point, that shuttle's already gone. It's dead.
Yeah, I can't micro Reavers either, which is why I don't even build them. Well, I don't technically micro the Dark Templar because I just build it and send it because you can't see it. But here we go, another attack. It's not gonna work, man. The units are just too weak.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, too weak. That EMP is, I mean, that takes a long time to regenerate 100 shield like that.
There we go.
Looks like it is carrier, so he is starting the transition. But unfortunately, it's right when we're seeing the big glob of red ball up and start to move out. So Mihu knows that this is a carrier transition. He's all over this timing.
Yeah, I think as soon as he had slammed that first army, that was the time to build the carriers, because it's not that I think he would have 6 by now, but he would definitely have 3. But now there's, you know, lack of stasis. You're in the middle of a switch, so even though it's max versus max, you got to subtract 18 supply because they're locked up in carrier. So it's actually max versus 170. Terran has EMPs also, and Protoss does not have a massive bank. So this is really rough. Once again, I think all you can do here as Protoss is cut off reinforcements or counter, like try and make the game weird. If you fight head on, Terran's gonna win. And that's why you see Bonyth move over to the left side, but top right is 100% dead. There was only 2 cannons there. This is gonna be completely blown up. And Mihu's got mine set up, plus the vessel already in position, so this is not going to work.
Yeah, he's actually retreating to meet that force, and Bonyth going to be pushed out. I mean, the one godsend is this is buying time for the carriers, but I mean, he's gonna have to really do some damage with these carriers.
Yeah, and there's gonna only be 3 out. Ooh. He's gotta pray for a miracle with this Reaver. Gotta buy time. Okay, once again, the vultures are extremely far forward. This is what you want. Blow up all the vultures. That makes your zealots so much stronger. Look, there's really not that much for the tank. Oh, huge
EMP,
stasis.
Huge stasis. Wow, that was very nice, avoiding the EMP in order to get that stasis out, and Bonyth actually crushes Mihu's force in the center.
Yeah, sick stasis right there. Vultures were way out of position, way too far forward, and something that I had totally forgotten about is
you know, I was talking about how the carriers, you know, they're dead supply right now. So even though it was max versus max, it's not technically max versus max. But at the same time, there's like 20 supply of vultures at top right. So that also wasn't in the army. And now these tanks, they're see you later. They're bye-bye. And we're starting to get into a situation where, yes, Protoss is struggling for econ. But how's Mihu going to get another base? How's he going to go get a 5th base trying to move across the map into Arbiter, Carrier? You know, that's going to be really hard to do. It's going to be hard for him to split horizontally. And instead, Bonyth, he's going to just take mid-left.
I think that's probably a smart call here, right? He can use the carriers to kind of defend that base while maybe even pressuring the mineral only at the same time. Either way, though, like, at the same time, Bonyth needs this other base. He is almost completely mined out of his natural, getting very close to mined out at the mineral only as well. I'm sure 12 o'clock isn't super far behind, and he's on basically even base count with the Terran. As you said, never really the optimal situation when that happens. So, you know, it's not like Bonyth's out of it just yet.
Mihu's going into 11 facts, by the way, and his mineral only is getting close to mined out. His main and natural are mined out, so he's going to be 11 fact on like one base. I don't know about that, but he's trying to take mid-left. He already canceled the mid-left base from Bonyth, and mid-left is somewhat of an easy base to defend versus just gateway units, because like you were saying, you can sit behind the walls, and obviously tanks are amazing when they can't be engaged on, but carriers are going to be in high numbers. And how are you going to fight them over a ledge? So I don't know about that. This is still such a close game, 180 to 166. But this time there are 6 carriers.
Yeah, it's really not a lot of Goliaths either. Like even with the threat of EMP here, I mean he's got more carriers than Mihu has Goliaths.
Double D Matrix coming in. D Matrix is really. Oh my gosh! I just realized Terran has +3 weapon, +2 armor. So even though there's not that many Goliaths, they can soak up a lot of shots. Supplies have plummeted for both sides. I think
Bonyth's doing it.
Yeah, I think this is over. I think he whittled the attacks down enough where now he's got critical mass. Like I was saying, it's going to be hard for Mihu to get bottom right. It's just hard to do that versus the in-game tech of Carrier Arbiter. And if he's going to expand to mid-left, I mean, the carriers are just going to have a field day versus that. And even though Bonyth is also only mining one base, there's going to be no answer to top right. And there is GG Mihu. He taps out. And we've got a series, boys. I thought it was going to be 3-0 based on how well these timings were going for Mihu, especially with the vultures. But Bonyth did a really good job just defending.
Yeah, man, he really did. And you said 3-0, and man, I'm thinking the same thing, especially at the start of that game. If you remember, like things were definitely not, starting out so great for Bonyth to, even to begin with. So nice comeback there, and at a point when I definitely counted him out. So yeah, that was really cool. Huh? Interesting, man. He gets the carriers and he's able to hold, and takes a nice game.
Yeah, I think he's doing what you need to do, which is you need to get the tech out, the gateway count to stop the pushes, whether it's Arbiter, Storm, whatever it is, and then you go into the delayed carrier. Like that's you can't go straight carrier version because you're just not going to have enough stuff to stop it. So I think Bonyth found the answer there. It's a winning strategy for him. He's now won on Citadel, and now he gets to have Dark Origin. It's his map pick. But Dark Origin, even though I think it's a good Protoss map, I think it's good for Protoss in the sense that you gas steal, Zealot pressure is really good. But versus someone like Mihu who doesn't cut econ, doesn't miss micro his Marines, like ever, I don't think you're getting the full benefit of picking this map. So I'm hoping Bonyth has something special. Maybe he's going to proxy a pylon again and go a robo. That could be dangerous, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man, I don't know. What about like a proxy one gate gas steal or something like that? Is Mihu just going to hold it? It's kind of like wasted effort at this point.
What was that?
Like, what do you think about Bonyth opening something like... I've seen a lot of Protoss open proxy one gate and gas steal on this map in particular, right? 2-base map, like 2-player map. I think it could be kind of strong, at least from some of the games I've seen. So.
I mean, it is strong. Like when I face it, I think it's strong, but I don't have micro like Mihu, or I don't have micro like Gypsy, right? And versus players like that, I still think you can get damage done. I still think it's a benefit for you. But let's say you don't get damage done. Well, then I think you're dead. I think you're just in massive trouble. Because Mihu's going to be comfortable playing a gasless game. Just like Gypsy's going to be comfortable playing a gasless game. If you want to get him to play gasless, he's just not going to care. So the real question is do I think Bonyth micro can exceed Mihu's micro? Sure, I think it could happen. It's just whenever I've seen players try and test Mihu's Marine micro, it hasn't gone well for them. So
yeah,
I don't know. Well, we've just got word from Zero that we are ready. So let's get into game 4. It is going to be Dark Origin, and once again Mihu on match point. Okay, in the top left, falling on Citadel, it is Mihu.
And in the bottom right, it is Bonyth.
All right, well, no probe being sent out, and that means that it is not going to be proxy gate. It could still be for a forward gate. I'm a bigger fan of this. The reason I say this is you're like not committed towards the pressure. Like you're not going to lose your gateway and then all of a sudden you're under risk of being hit by like a 2-Rax or getting hit by, you know, some type of timing and you just don't have a gateway to defend. But at the same time, if you gas steal here, you force the player to go obviously gasless command center, and Zealots just rallied off of one gate. They do immense pressure at the natural. Like it's not easy to stop. So I'm glad that we see this as opposed to a proxy. I think this is a good opener for Bonyth.
Yeah, it's less committed. You can kind of, it's easier to transition out of. It's kind of nice because the gateway helps act as a wall, right? And we've seen so many Vulture run-bys in this series already that have done big damage for Mihu here, so maybe it'll help negate some of that. There's a gas steal.
Yeah, interesting gas steal timing. You can get down an 11 gas before that assimilator went down. So I wonder if Mihu's actually thinking like this guy might have proxied, because why else would he not have the money to immediately gas steal him? And that's probably why you see him immediately scout. And actually that box was right on top of the natural to make sure he didn't like miss scout a gateway. But we know that it is not proxied, it's just at the entrance of Bonyth's base. And now I personally have a rough time versus this particular build, and the reason is hard to gauge how many Zealots it is. If it's 2, you know, you want to have something like 5-6 Marines. If it's 3, you definitely need more than that. And if it's 4, well, you better have a ton of Marines. And it can really snowball pretty quickly if you lose any amount of your Marines in the beginning. Now this eBay block, it was a good idea, but it's just going to get immediately shut down.
He still walks away with the Zealot though.
Well,
so I guess this is going to do some delaying.
Well, that's because he doesn't want him to have the bunker up, and he doesn't want them to get a fast command center. If you do this and you don't put any pressure down, well, then all of a sudden, this doesn't really get you much, because all you did is force a gasless into a gasless, because this is what Protoss is also doing.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Well, we're seeing the first Zealot walk into the natural here. Oh, it is a bunker. Okay, so he's completely fine. Unless Bonyth goes for something like a Zealot probe run by.
Oh yeah, he's running by. If you're doing this, you're running by. You're not building three Zealots and just sit on your butt. And one good thing about this assimilator is he sees that this guy's not building more Marines. So there's what, maybe 2 or 3 in that bunker, plus only 2 in the main. And there was no SCVs pulled to hold the ramp. And this is what I was talking about. If you don't have enough Marines for these Zealots, all of a sudden this is getting really ugly. Now that was a really good surround. Okay, actually, it wasn't ugly at all. I thought it looked ugly, but now these two zealots are dead. The probe is also going to die. This zealot will, be annoying here at the natural, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to do that much. Like, yes, it will kill the SCV, but you're just going to send one over there and complete the... Actually, it doesn't even get that SCV, by the way. It got saved.
Crazy. Does delay the command center a little bit, though. And Mihu likely going to just catch this extra zealot.
That probe's still alive in the main. Let's see it, man. Let's see the proxy gate. DT. Do it.
Proxy DT. Do it. You could do it. No, he has to know that's there.
I think he forgot. Well,
Really?
if it was me, I would have forgotten because I killed the zealots. I'd be thinking that's probably it. That cybernetics that went down in his main, I was hoping it was a Citadel, but it's not. And we are just going to go into a normal-ish game. Command center is going to be done in a second. Nexus is already done. And I wonder what the follow-up will be for Bonyth. You gotta imagine that's probably just going to be Robo, because that's just what he does. But he has a lot of options here, because, he's delayed the factory a long time. He can scout again with that probe and, evaluate. He can go Stargates. Well, maybe not now, since the SCV's in there.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, this is the most common thing for expecting the SCV to scout it. C's just a robo, nothing out of the ordinary. You always do Observer or Shuttle or Reaver is a possibility, so not too bad.
So, not a lot of damage taken from Mihu. And despite being the faster Nexus, I would say this is probably like an evenish game state. You traded Marines for Zealots. Don't necessarily really want the Marines, so not a big loss to lose them. Meanwhile, you're getting a full read on the factory timing. So I think going straight Reaver here could be effective. You're not going to be facing mines, most likely. Not going to be facing a huge tank count. You're definitely not going to be facing Goliath, because Mihu doesn't rush Armory almost ever. So if I was him, instead of going Observer this game, I would definitely consider going straight Reaver. There it is.
Yeah, as expected, support bay going down. We'll have to see if it's no speed shuttle versus speed shuttle. I think Bond's basically been favoring that speed upgrade so far in this series.
Got eBay coming in, so everything from Mihu is going to be well timed. Now this is going to get interesting because it does look like Mihu's doing what a lot of Terran players do in response to fast Reaver, which is surprisingly they just push at the same time, and then you get into this awkward situation for where a lot of times the Protoss has a low gateway count, which means they have a low unit count, and they don't have the Reaver because it's across the map. So you get in not necessarily like a base trade situation, but you get into like a expansion trade for main SCV line situation, and it can be dangerous. But I think this time around it's a little different because Bonyth already has 3 gateways, so he'll be able to actually build a lot of units, and Mihu hasn't even started moving yet, so not sure how well this is going to work.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's only 4 Dragoons here, so these 3 tanks going to end up doing some pretty good damage. It does get a tank, though. Ooh.
Wow, okay, well, now all of a sudden, this push is very dangerous. I don't know if this Reaver can move across the map now. Sure, Reaver doesn't necessarily have to move across the map. You can just use it defensively. Oh my goodness, goodbye, 2 mines and 2 vultures. And now, well, Mihu needs to get out of the middle of the map. Yeah, you need to get out of there. 2 tanks, 3 Marines. I think a Reaver will kill all of those.
Yeah, definitely. Marines don't really have the range to kind of push this shuttle off this early. Still though, wow, look at this. Mihu posturing back. Like, I don't know. He doesn't seem too deferred by this shuttle Reaver.
Yeah, what makes Mihu different from other Terrans is when other Terrans move like this, they're moving to commit. Like, that's it. Like, they've made a decision, I'm attacking, no other thoughts. Whereas Mihu's, he's moving, and he'll attack if he sees an opportunity. But if there's no opportunity, he just backs off. And meanwhile, you can see Protoss in response has built a lot more goons because he doesn't know if this guy's committing or not. So that means it's a delayed Nexus now. Third Nexus hasn't even started. There's multiple reasons why the third Nexus hasn't started, is because also there's Stargates in the main. But, you know, building additional goons means that this guy may have delayed his carriers. So, I mean, Mihu's doing a fantastic job with his movement to force out stuff that Bonyth doesn't need right now.
We do see that star port in the Terran main as well. Do you think there's going to be another Vulture drop, like at the natural?
Yeah, it looks like it. He's probably going to load up behind the natural and then run into the main and just try and kill everything. Because Mihu hasn't got... does he have scanners? I don't see scanners on his command centers. Because there's no scanners, he doesn't know that it's actually a rushed carrier. Like, all he knows is that this guy has Reaver. I guess because he doesn't have a third Nexus, that's extremely weird. So he could be suspecting that it's carriers, but at this point he still doesn't confirm it. So what this drop will allow him to do is, one, confirm it while also harassing at the same time. And what I like what Mihu's done is, this time, instead of it being a 5 fact, it's a 6 fact. So he's heavily committed to this. Like, this is not, I'm attacking and expanding behind it. This is, I'm attacking and I'm going to kill you this time.
Okay. Well, Observer does see the first of Mihu forces start to move out here. Third Nexus is down, so Bonyth's now got another base he's trying to defend. Seeing a slow push to the center, just kind of placing down a turret and starting to get his rally together.
It's a drop, by the way, at the natural.
Oh, it's a tank.
Okay. So he's going to shut down both bases. He's going to shut down the natural while also shutting down the main. And he keeps the dropship alive so he can evac whenever he wants. Vultures actually did not... Okay, now they're going to the top side, and we'll see the carriers, and we'll know that, hey, this guy's already got 2 carriers out. And this time around, the Vultures in the main didn't do that much damage, but critically, by the way, they got the 2 probes on the cast.
Yeah.
So Bonyth
I was
fix
noticing that. I'm sure he will, but yeah, if he doesn't recognize that for some reason, that would be big damage.
Yeah, it will really come back to bite him, because right now he's in the process of getting his 3rd and 4th carrier. 3rd and 4th carrier, that's manageable for Terran. Definitely, especially on maps like Dark Origin where there's buildable terrain. But once it starts getting to 6 to 8, that's when it's really scary. And this is going to be a nightmare for Protoss. Protoss is down 30 supply. The tanks are in a really good position. This is why Dark Origin is so hard to play against Terran when they push like this, is how do you engage into this single tank on the bridge? Like, behind it, there's so many tanks that you can't engage into.
Yeah, I mean, carriers might be an answer, but yeah, it does not look easy to deal with, for sure.
Okay, well, there we go. Tank for 2 Zealots. We'll take that.
Yeah, it is a trade. Looks like Bonyth probably just waiting for a few more interceptors to build up.
Okay, well, I guess it all comes down to this. I didn't think that the tank and Vulture drop did that much damage, but the supplies have told a totally different story. Mihu is up 30 supply here, and it doesn't look like there's really any answer. He doesn't have critical mass on his interceptors either.
Yeah, shoot. These carriers just not quite able to do the damage they need. Like you said, I mean, that drop at the natural must have just done so much SCV or probe damage.
Yeah, look at Mihu's money. I mean, this guy just has so many, like, he doesn't ever miss workers, and, like, he's pushing while expanding at the same time, and his eco is just, like, he could triple expand off of this if he wanted, while also building mass turrets and building units nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, that SCV count when we go into the main and natural is just insane. He's over fully saturated. He's ready to saturate his 3rd, you know? And, well, yeah, slow Zealot's not quite going to be able to hold this timing here. Bonyth trying to pick off a few more Goliaths here and just kind of slow this push at this point.
There's no way that he can overcome this. It's different if you have 6, 7 carriers, but 4 is not going to cut it. And that means that Mihu, unless there's like some miracle that I'm not seeing, like he steps on a mine, the Zealot literally blows up every Goliath, this is going to be a 3-1. And we're going to have Zeke facing off in versus Bonyth. in the bottom side of the bracket, and that's going to be interesting, not only because it's EU, which means we're going to have turn rate 24, but also because we've had epic series between these two. I feel like every time we see them play, they've been somewhat close, right? Like,
Always.
It's not like, yeah, it's not like a blowout, right? So this could be a real slugfest in the bottom side of the bracket.
Yeah, man, it definitely is. Anytime Zeke's playing, you know, I think I heard him say recently he thinks Zerg vs Protoss is his weakest matchup. I love his Zerg vs Protoss, man. Like, I think he is definitely a player who understands it, has his own kind of unique style. At the same time, like, he loves opening Muta versus players like Bonyth, and is definitely someone who will go toe-to-toe with Bonyth in that matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a good matchup, and we're just really waiting for the GG. I mean, you can see on Bonyth's face he's smiling because you're not getting out. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah,
he's
there's
gonna
just
run out
no
of money.
way.
Yeah, like, I mean, look at the mineral line. He's got a minute left of mining, and that's it. Meanwhile, Mihu has... He killed off his own gas. He's like, F you.
I didn't need that gas.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He's still microing his heart out here. More and more turrets going down outside his natural. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's probably just a little frustrated. Thought he had this one.
There it is, GG. And that means Mihu will be moving on. So that at least should be a sigh of relief for some people looking at the bracket saying, I don't want to see PvP. You got at least a TVP in the finals, but a little unfortunate now because now we've got EU versus EU, meaning that we're going to have one of the top EU foreigners be eliminated, and both of them are, you know, contenders to win the whole thing. So that's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the same time, you know, one of the last two Zergs left in the bracket as well, so we're really getting down to the wire here as far as, like, who's who for all the races. So, yeah, but, you know, always a great set.